ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य महाणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me and illumine my life. Let me never forget what I learned from them. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our ego is dissolved in the ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. Like a salt doll dissolving in the ocean. Let us feel that our ego too has dissolved in the ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. With that all the distinctions of I and world have vanished. All desires have vanished. the one without second. Beyond all subject-object. Beyond time and space. That alone is. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin our discussion of today on this great biography of Sri Ramakrishna with our usual chant. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashvapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi grananti te bhurida janaha. We are reading on page 692, where we saw Sri Ramakrishna has come to participate in the Chariot festival at Balram Basu's house. Some time back he had also participated in a similar festival which was going on for 9 days. And this is the return of the chariot, as it were. So that festival, and Sri Ramakrishna is staying at Balram Basu's place. And we saw that Balram Basu is considered by this author, Swami Saradananda, as one of the 4 suppliers that Sri Ramakrishna spoke about, of whom 2 he clearly mentioned, and then 2 then have been deduced by Swami Saradananda with some what is called circumstantial evidence. So one of them is Balram Basu. So Sri Ramakrishna used to be very pleased to be at his place, and he used it as it were his parlor. So many devotees who would not be able to come to Kolkata, to Dakshineshwar, they would come to see Sri Ramakrishna at Balram Basu's place, and then making it as it were his main stop, he would go to some other devotees' houses also. But this is when we now read here on this second paragraph of page 692. The master spent a joyful 2 days and nights at Balram's home with the devotees. On the third day at 8 or 9 a.m., he was ready to return to Dakshineshwar. The boat was waiting at the Bagh Bazar Ghat. It was arranged that Gopal Ma and a woman devotee named Golap Ma, please don't confuse between the two. Gopal Ma is the mother of little Krishna, the Gopal. Golap is like the name, it is the rose. The Bengali name for rose is Golap. So, like a lady would get the name Rose. So, similarly, she was named Golap. So, she was a constant companion of Holy Mother uh, for all the remaining life of Holy Mother. So, she and Yogin Ma were the very constant attendants and companions of Holy Mother. So, this is Golap Ma and Gopal Ma. So, it is told here that it was arranged that the Gopal Ma and a woman devotee named Golap Ma would go with the master. In addition, a few young boy devotees who had come to serve the master would accompany them. Kali, Swami Abhedananda, was probably one of them. Swami Saradananda is not very certain about it. We saw that Sri Ramakrishna specially sent a carriage through Balram Basu. Balram Basu arranged a carriage to go all the way to Kamarhati, where this Gopal Ma used to live, and then brought Gopal Ma for this special festival, a very important occasion where we see Sri Ramakrishna sending for someone with a carriage to get that person. So that he praised Gopal Ma there, that what her devotion is, and with that devotion what a transformation has come in her life. This transformation comes when one practices devotion, and if the practice is real, if the devotion is not a matter of just show, then what happens is it transforms the life. You see that a person then pays more attention to God, gradually becoming just God-centered life. The life which is ego-centered and life that is God-centered. So that is how he described how the Gopal's mother's life is a God-centered life, and her devotion, her sincere, very sincere, without any attempt to show that I am a devotee, but true devotion there. And Sri Ramakrishna told the Balram Basu and other devotees and got her there. Now she stayed here, and then as Sri Ramakrishna's time to leave, go back to Dakshineshwar was nearing, it was decided that she will accompany Sri Ramakrishna and another Holy Mother's attendant devotee, Golap Ma, and some other young boys who had come to serve Sri Ramakrishna. One of them could be Kali, that is Swami Abhedananda. The master went to the inner apartment of Balram's house and bowed down to Jagannath in the shrine. The members of Balram's family saluted the master. He then went to the boat, followed by Gopal Ma and the others. Some members of Balram's family uh, presented Gopal Ma with clothes, a ladle, cooking utensils, and some other articles, knowing that she needed them. A big bundle containing these things was sent to the boat, which then departed. Now Sri Ramakrishna was a person of that state of renunciation where even as the slightest idea of accumulation or storing was not tolerated. There are so many incidents that he could not even tie a knot. When there was Holy Mother gave some these mouth freshening spices, he came to ask for it because he had none. So Holy Mother gave. For that time Sri Ramakrishna put in mouth, and then for the use later, Holy Mother uh, gave him some more packed in a kind of packet, small, tied in the cloth. So, but then Sri Ramakrishna, as he went out, if you see the distance between where Holy Mother used to live and where Sri Ramakrishna used to live, that is very, very short distance. It is maybe just about 25, 30 feet like that from here to there. That's about it. And Sri Ramakrishna, instead of going to his room, he could not see the road to his room. Imagine. And his feet were being dragged to the Ganges in the other direction. So, and he almost was getting there when Hriday went and caught him. So, and then he saw the reason was that he tied this to his cloth, these mouth freshening spices. So he could not have the idea of storage, keeping something. So that's, and he looked upon Gopal's mother with that idea. Not everybody, but Gopal's mother, for him, for Sri Ramakrishna's sight, was a perfected devotee. We saw that he told her, "You have nothing more to achieve. You have achieved everything." So, what happened now? This bundle was given to Gopal's ma, and then she was sitting in the boat with this. Now, the drama, as it were, began. As their boat headed to Dakshineshwar, Master noticed the bundle. Upon inquiry, he learnt that it contained some articles that Balram's family had given to Gopal Ma. He immediately became grave. He said nothing, nothing to Gopal Ma, but instead began to talk to Golap Ma about renunciation. Only one who is endowed with renunciation realizes God. One who is satisfied simply with another devotee's hospitality and leaves empty handed, that person sits very close to God. So he was telling, you are now carrying these things. So during the journey, he did not say a single word to Gopal Ma, but he kept looking at her bundle. Very suggestive, that it is, that this is not right that you are doing. Kept on looking at that bundle. And Gopal Ma noticed the master's mood and was stung with remorse. She thought of throwing the bundle into the Ganges. Although the master would laugh, joke, and play with his devotees like a 5-year-old boy, he was a strict disciplinarian. He would not tolerate improper conduct, and he took note of even the smallest things. And depending on the ideal that a person is following. Although everybody has the ideal of reaching the God, not everybody has the same level of commitment to it. Very few have that kind of commitment like Gopal's mother or Sri Ramakrishna. Many others, yes, it was there, that love for God is there, maybe maximum, but there were other things also to be cared for. So, to that Sri Ramakrishna wouldn't say, don't store. In fact, to many householders he would say, no, a householder should store, keep things for the future, save money for the bad days. So he would advise householders who had the spirit of devotion, but not of that intensity. So, but Gopal's mother for him was the one who is at that tremendous ultimate height of devotion. And so he was not at all pleased to see Gopal's mother bringing this bundle with her. Although the master would laugh, joke, and play with devotees like a 5-year-old boy, he was a strict disciplinarian. It is to be remembered many times Sri Ramakrishna get pictured that, oh, do whatever you like. Some people say Vivekananda is very difficult to read. Everything is so strict and all that renunciation and such things. But Sri Ramakrishna was actually far more strict than others. Very strict disciplinarian. So he was not happy with this kind of a breach. He took note of even the smallest things. If anyone performed the slightest impropriety, his keen eye would fall on that person, and he would make every effort to correct that devotee. But this did not require any extraordinary effort on his part. He would simply make his face turn and stop talking to that devotee for a while. Immediately that person would become uncomfortable and repent his or her fault. For those who refuse to rectify their mistakes, a little scolding was enough to change their minds. Thus, the wonderful master behaved with and taught each devotee in his unique way. he would first conquer their hearts with his superhuman love, then explain to them in a few words whatever he had to say. Yes, that superhuman love is an important word there. Superhuman means the human love is of a that relation for each other's comfort, as it were. The needs of each other are fulfilled like that. It is not really love. It is a mutual arrangement so that we both find a sense of comfort or profit. So it is like a stock company coming together or a business partnership coming together. There is no love as such there. It is whatever we are related as long as there is a mutual profit. So if it doesn't happen, then it breaks. The contracts, they are broken. So this is how we see uh, in regular human love. Again, it goes from one place to another place. There is not a real deep feeling of oneness there, but which Sri Ramakrishna, firstly, there is no expectation for himself. All is centered on the well being of the devotee. So, that is one aspect. Secondly, what really made a big difference is the feeling of oneness, which is the core of love. In love, what happens is that you and I, the difference melts away. Whatever belongs to A belongs to B. Whatever belongs to B belongs to A. That kind of connection is the center point, one can say, of love. There is no distinction. So there is neither any bargain nor any feeling of you and I separate. That feeling, to the extent that the love is intense, that feeling becomes a very prominent one. So this is, as soon as this boat reached, as soon as Gopal's mother reached Dakshineshwar, Gopal Ma went to the Nahabat to see Holy Mother and said anxiously, "O my child, Gopala, Sri Ramakrishna is annoyed by seeing this bundle of things. What shall I do? Should I distribute them here instead of taking them home?" Seeing her in such distress, the compassionate Holy Mother consoled her, saying, Don't worry, Mother. Let the Master say what he wants. You have no one in the world to help you. You accepted these things because you need them. That is how Holy Mother saw this whole thing. And so she consoled Gopal's mother, and then Sri Ramakrishna did not say a word about it afterwards. He understood that this is how it should be. So, this is specially pointed out here, that how Sri Ramakrishna, although a strict disciplinarian, was very careful that people do not have the desire to accumulate and store something. If it is needed and necessary and it has come to you, okay, keep it. It is no harm in keeping it. It has come to you, and you need it, you can use it. So it is nevertheless Gopal Ma took a cloth and a few other things from the bundle and gave them away. So she did not take everything because it would be needed and all that. Whatever was really needed, she took and distributed the rest of the things. So uh, then she was frightened. How will Sri Ramakrishna now think of her? Frightened, she cooked a couple of curries for the master and carried the food to him. The omniscient master saw that she was repentant and said nothing to her of the matter. He smiled at Gopal Ma and began to talk with her and behave in his usual manner. She was pretty relieved. After feeding the master, she returned to Kamarhati that afternoon. As we mentioned earlier, 2 months after her first vision, Gopalma no longer saw Gopala's loving form continuously. But let no one think that she seldom had any visions of Gopala. In fact, she saw Gopala several times a day. Whenever she was uh, anxious to see Gopala, she saw him. If she needed to learn anything, Gopala suddenly appeared before her, teaching her through a sign or words or demonstration, and including her to do inducing her to do as he did. By merging himself into the master again and again, Gopala convinced Gopalma that he and Sri Ramakrishna were one. So this is how it is the Gopala that was that her chosen ideal merged into Sri Ramakrishna so much. In her awareness now, when she would think of Gopala, the little child Krishna, it would be seeing as it were Master's vision, Sri Ramakrishna's vision. And Sri Ramakrishna also, when she would see the Sri Ramakrishna, she would address him as my Gopala. So that is how it became such a concrete connection between the two, concrete relationship. So by showing yeah, Gopala convinced Gopalma that he and Sri Ramakrishna were one. Gopala taught her how to serve him by asking her for special foods to eat and things to lie upon. By showing Gopalma how he associated with some special devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, and how he behaved with them. Gopala showed his mother that there was no there was no difference between them and himself. The devotees and God were one. Thus, her unwillingness to eat food that devotees had touched gradually disappeared. In the initial description of Gopal's mother, let us remember it was told that how touchy she was about food, how her very orthodox no touchism was constantly there, and she would not eat food from this person or that person, When this happened, Sri Ramakrishna uh, just she saw how Sri Ramakrishna behaves, how he takes food from certain devotees, and that altered her behavior accordingly. She became much broader in her perspective. So Gopal Ma had fewer visions of Gopala once she became convinced that Sri Ramakrishna was her chosen deity. She saw the form of Sri Ramakrishna instead. A transformation takes place. Mm. First, the Gopala and Sri Ramakrishna. Gopala becoming one with Sri Ramakrishna, coming out, and then so it was, she could see Gopala in Sri Ramakrishna. Sri, now what happened that day? She would not see Gopala in Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna himself now is taking that form of that form is Gopala, not Gopala anymore, but the form is Sri Ramakrishna. So the form of Gopala now completely disappeared and merged in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. This is how the devotion starting from one form, that form then gets into the that human form of Sri Ramakrishna, and then it becomes now so much merged that now that other Gopala form is no more there. It is only Sri Ramakrishna's form that she now was seeing. And though that form Lord Gopala would instruct her, and through that form Lord Gopala would instruct her as necessary. At first she was anxious because she no longer saw the form of Gopala. One day she went to Sri Ramakrishna in tears and asked, Gopala, what have you done to me? Did I do anything wrong? Why don't I see you in the form of Gopala? As as before. Sri Ramakrishna consoled her, saying, in this Kali Yuga, the body does not last long if one has such visions continuously. It survives only 21 days and then drops off like a dry leaf. After her first vision, Gopal Ma had been intoxicated by this spiritual mood for 2 months. She had performed her daily activities, cooking, bathing, eating, doing japa and meditation and so on, only because of her long standing habits and duties. At that time her body went through her routine automatically somehow or other by sheer force of habit. But how long could her body last while she was continuously absorbed in this highly intoxicated spiritual mood? It is a wonder that it survived 2 months. After that time, the divine intoxication gradually diminished to a great extent. But because she could not see Gopala as before, an intense longing took hold of her. The humor of uh, the humor of wind then increased in her body, and she began to experience terrible chest pain. So that is this wind. The problem that is in Ayurveda called vata means wind. So the gases. So it started bringing a pain in her chest. She said to Sri Ramakrishna, "The strong humor of wind makes me uh, feel as if someone is sawing my heart into my heart." The master consoled her, saying, "That is caused by your hurry bhai." Uh, it is, but Hari Bayu means it is the Sanskrit word. In Bengali it is written like Hari Bai, but it is Hari Vayu, means wind. This is the wind of Hari in you that is causing it. An excess of spiritual energy. How will you pass your time if the cause is removed? It is good that you have it. When you feel too much pain, please eat something. As he said that, he fed her with various delicacies. So, that would reduce the pain that was happening due to that kind of wind. Just as a number of Bengali men and women devotees from Kolkata would visit the master, many men and women from Marwari community also came to see him from time to time. After arriving at Dakshineshwar temple garden by carriage, they would bathe in the Ganges, pick flowers, worship Shiva, and then assemble in the Panchavati. They would set up an earthen hearth there and prepare lentils, bread, sweets, and other dishes. After offering that food to God, they took a share of the prasad to the master and then distributed the rest amongst themselves. Many of them would also present the master with nuts, resins, pistachios, dates, rock candy, grapes, pomegranate, guavas, betel leaves, and so on, and bow down to him. They were not like most of us. They all knew that one should not visit monasteries or temples empty handed. So they invariably brought something with them. Sri Ramakrishna, however, could not accept these things from the Marwaris with one or two exceptions. He told us if they offer one betel roll, they connect with it 16 desires. Of course, the number is not important there, but there are many desires tied to it. Like a business, it is you give something, but then the expectation is you will get back much more from that. So, most of them were such businessmen engaged in, this kind of investing. So, idea of investing is that you invest where you will get big gain. So it is, and Sri Ramakrishna therefore wouldn't take it, that because there are the desires associated with it. Sri Ramakrishna could easily see that this is given out of lot of desires, that okay, if he accepts it, a lot will get returned to me, my gain will be big. So that is how it is given. So how the type of desires, may I win the lawsuit, may I be cured from this disease, may I make a profit in my business, and so on. The master did not eat those things himself, nor did he allow the devotees to eat them. But sometimes he took a little of the cooked food that they had offered to the
deity and as prasad and would give us to eat. The holy person, the only person who was able to eat the Marwari's fruits and rock candy was Narendra, Swami Vivekananda. Master said Narendra has the sword of knowledge. It is ever unsheathed, dazzling like a blazing fire. If he eats their food, it will not do him any harm, nor will his mind be contaminated. Hmm. It is here many ask the question that if Narendra had this kind of knowledge, sword of knowledge, unsheathed, this sword of knowledge constantly there, uh, why did Sri Ramakrishna not have it? Sri Ramakrishna also should have it. Narendra could eat it because that knowledge burns everything. It is by knowledge, no such qualities of the food will be sticking there at all. That is the efficacy of knowledge. That it is just plain particles, and the same God pervades in all these. There is no speciality that could be seen there. So that knowledge, because of that knowledge constantly burning there, Narendra could eat it. Why Sri Ramakrishna didn't have this? Because Sri Ramakrishna needed to teach people that one should not be indiscriminate about food. So his body also therefore was made in a very different manner, that could go into samadhi every now and then, come out of it. A very delicately made physical structure. So he wouldn't eat nor allow her, because if he eats, then that would set a pattern there. Oh, so all would eat. So he achieved two purposes in this, a twofold purpose. Let us put it like that. That having the food or some such things, some gifts given as some kind of out of some other desires, that okay, this person then will do or whatever is needed for my benefit. So through that idea, if it is given and somebody takes that gift, then it is kind of accepted deal. Sometimes I get some they ads and some solicitations one gets in the mail, but some are very funny. They come with a check. A check is enclosed there. Nice, something $20, $25, and then it is written there, by accepting this check, you agree to all these conditions. So that's it, it becomes then a legal document that you have accepted this check. Means that you agree to keep on making these payments or buying these things. Very stealthy way of pushing their products, that if you it is 25% is given, or whatever, $25 is given, and then there is this condition. So if you do not see that and deposit the check in your account, that means now legally you become kind of bound by that agreement. So these gifts are also given like that. Okay, you take this, and it is specially given to holy people, so called, not necessarily, but whom they think as holy person. So the gift is given, and then if that person accepts it, I will automatically have the blessings of that saintly person to get my other desires fulfilled. So this happens, that it is therefore so many thousands and thousands or millions of people go to such shrines with some desire in mind, and then pray and offer their gift, and knowing that their desire will get fulfilled. Now, if it gets fulfilled or not, difficult to say, but there must be some fulfillment. Otherwise, why people keep on going? They go once. Suppose somebody goes once, offers something, and if the desire doesn't get fulfilled, I will not go again. But no, keeps on going because the desires get fulfilled. That it is. So in Bhagavad Gita also there is a particular verse about this, that whatever attitude that one approaches God with, and the God strengthens that attitude of the devotee. By doing that, what God is doing is to strengthen the faith of that devotee in God. So, okay, that devotee had prayed for certain things and then offered certain gifts, and that desire gets fulfilled. Then what happens? That person gets the faith in that. That is what Jesus had done, calling it a sign. The people see this sign that yes, here is the source of fulfillment of desires. So that person comes again. So, and what happens in the process? The mind gradually and sometimes or most of the times unconsciously shifts from the desires to the God Himself. First it is approached for the desire, and then that is approached just out of love, because one starts feeling the loving attraction of the divine. Now there is no craving for those fulfillment of those desires, but then there is the love for God emerges. So it is said that in that verse of Bhagavad Gita, to strengthen their faith, their Shraddha, I fulfilled in my own way whatever the attitude that they have approached me with. So that is how there is a meaning to this thing. So Sri Ramakrishna wouldn't accept such gifts at all, but people will come and give. Now their part is done. Sri Ramakrishna's part will be not to take it. So it is, they will come and give, they will get the benefit of giving. Sri Ramakrishna wouldn't accept, showing that, well, one should not accept this. People will come to give you lot of respect and honor. But that is their part. They should do like that. But you should not accept it. It is because it creates a bondage around you. So you should not, fall for that kind of bet. So Narendranath didn't have at that time any such problem. So he, having that kind of burning fire of knowledge or this open, unsheathed sword with which every defect in the food gets completely cut asunder. So it was okay for him to take that. That is also what Sri Ramakrishna wanted to describe, that at one stage you may not get affected by it if you are of that stage. But just imagining I am of that stage doesn't become successful. You have to be actually at that stage. You cannot say that yes, somebody had probably can swim that English channel. Many have swam through that English channel. But it is a feat. You have to, not that every person jumps there would be able to do it. No, you have to get that kind of qualification to be able to, even attempt for that. So, this is what is described there, that whenever a devotee was available, the master would send the Marwadis offerings to Narendra in Kolkata. Otherwise, he sent them through Ramlal, his nephew, who was the priest of the Kali temple. Ramlal told us that the master was concerned that he would be irritated by those regular requests to bring food to Narendra. One day, after lunch, master asked him, "Well, Ramlal, do you need anything in Kolkata?" So he is trying to, without actually bothering, but wanted this work to be done, to take this to Narendranath. So his method is described, how careful Sri Ramakrishna was not to cause any inconvenience to other people. Well, Ramlal, do you need anything in Kolkata? Ramlal replied, Uncle, I don't need anything right now, but if you want me to go, I will. I was thinking that you haven't visited Calcutta for a long time, said the master. So if you wish, why don't you go for a little outing? If you go, please take some coins from that tin trunk to pay for the hired carriage from Baranagar. Otherwise, you may fall ill from the scorching sun. Please carry that rock candy and nuts to Narendra and bring me news of him. He has not visited me for a long time and my mind is anxious to hear about him. Ramlal told us, Ah, what hesitation, lest I get annoyed by doing this errand for him. At any rate, Ramlal always took the opportunity to go to Calcutta and bring joy to the devotees there by talking about the master. So, these are the tidbits that of this almost the last part of Sri Ramakrishna's Guru Bhava, Sri Ramakrishna as the teacher. So, a few more tidbits we will read in our next class. So, there are, then this particular part there will be an appendix to this that will be the next one. So today's class we will stop here. You may ask any question if you have after meditating on this for a few seconds. Yes, please. Any question there? No question. Okay. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.